Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene. Hello, Zoom Church. The wheel of the year has turned once more, and we arrive at the halfway point between winter solstice and the spring equinox. Light is returning. Let us honor this season and the goddess Bridget by lighting our flaming chalice. I will invite Arthur, Mary, and Roland to come up now together to light the chalice as I read these words. We speak of the fire of commitment that urges us to act for the common good. Today, let the chalice be kindled by another energy, the fire of transformation. O liberating fire that calls for cleansing rage. Whatever hurtful lies distort our present age, your dancing dreams our liberty to challenge each indignity. You sing the whole and faith of life. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Jen Youngsun. I use pronouns she and her. And if it would help to have a visual description, I'm wearing a bright yellow jacket and my purple stole today. Last Sunday, we kicked off our annual pledge drive, and I'm happy to report that we have received pledge cards from 23 households totaling over $140,000 already. So we're off to a really good start. In these days of resistance and resilience, we need the power of the people to show up boldly and courageously. This Unitarian Universalist Church, in partnership with progressive groups here in town and UUs across the nation, are making a difference to so many people. We made a difference yesterday when we helped the heat stay on for a single mother working 2 jobs. We made a difference for the man whose spouse had died and asked the funeral home if they knew of someone who could do an earth-centered memorial service. It made a difference to the one who came through those doors anxious and scared about what their life and their children's lives may be. And it made a difference to the one who is so angry that they can feel their heart closing up and does not want to live like that. How has this place made a difference, either in your life or the life of someone you know? Joe's going to come around with the microphone if you want to contribute to this conversation. How has this place made a difference? How does it make a difference?
It surrounded me with love when I was in grief.
It makes such a difference to me to know that there are all these people who feel the same way that we do, that we go for love and we go for peace, and we're not afraid. And it just knowing that we're all here is wonderful.
Thank you. From our friends on Zoom, I can come here and know I am seen and heard.
It gives me a chance to have a party and have people come.
and make music. Yes.
It makes a difference to people who come to Produce Plus to get food, healthy food.
Oh, yes. And it's not just food that they get here. They get a level of kindness and welcome that they don't necessarily get at other produce or food places, right? And they get music sometimes. From our Zoom friends, it has helped me to stay centered and not lose hope. It has provided a toehold to reach and stretch, to connect with what is human. I was so isolated before.
It definitely gave me a community to engage with, become a part of, and I've made really wonderful friends here. When you move, when you're older, it's hard to make friends, and this place gives you a wonderful opportunity to find friendship.
Thank you so much. If you want this church to keep making a difference in the lives of its members and our neighbors, please consider making your annual pledge and turn that form into the office before February the 15th. After that date, we're going to make some calls and we're going to put stamps on these envelopes. Sandy Lynn is our pledge drive coordinator this year, and she'll be over at that table if you've got any questions, and she'll also be asking for volunteers. Thank you so much. Dear ones, hold on, and let go, and let go. Breathe in, hold on, breathe out, let go. I don't have to tell any of you that life is not a straight, smooth road from birth to death. We go bouncing along until something happens. Something always happens. That's why we gather in community, so that we don't have to bear those times alone. Here is a time and space for you to be still, to pray in your own way, or to move around this space to one of our joys and sorrows stations. There you can hold a stone close and then let it go. Trust that the ripples of water will carry your prayers. You can also write on one of the cards, and I'll read as many as I can today from the pulpit. Zoom friends, go ahead and type your joys and sorrows into the chat. Yes, and as you feel moved, you can move around or you can stay still.
The Mosquito Among Raindrops by Teddy Macker. The mosquito among raindrops. It's equivalent to getting hit, says the scientist, by a falling school bus. And hit every 20 seconds, and the mosquito lives. In fact, she doesn't even try to avoid the drops. No zigzagging, no ducking, no hiding under the eaves. How does she do it? No resistance to force. She hitches a ride on a blow, a stowaway on that which brings her down. She becomes one with the drop, knowing that to fly again, she must fall.
Does anyone else feel like that little mosquito these days? Boom, boom, boom. These huge raindrops just keep coming down, hitting us every 20 seconds with some other news. How in the world are we going to get through this next day, this next week, this next month, this next year? Well, it helps me to remember that the Montgomery bus boycott lasted 382 days. 382 days of walking, 382 days of organizing rides so people could get to work, 382 days of disruption, resistance, and resilience. Resilience. Now, if you think in the physical material realm, things that are resilient are things that can hold their shape. They bounce back. So we've got titanium alloy, right? Silicone, rubber, carbon fiber. These are resilient things. But when gigantic raindrops the size of a school bus hit us on a daily basis, we humans don't tend to bounce back quite as easily. Because unlike Tigger, we are not made of rubber and springs. We have these soft animal bodies, and they don't bounce. After suffering hardship and difficulty, we don't ever return to the same shape as before. Everything has changed. If we are able to practice some spiritual resiliency, though, then you know what? It is possible. It is possible not to bounce back, but to be transformed by the experience and move toward something new. Spiritual resilience is faith practiced under pressure. Now, this is a kind of faith that asks a lot of us. Practicing that kind of faith is not easy, and sometimes we are just not able to rise to our best. A few days ago, I was in the airport and I witnessed a painful meltdown. I was there long enough to piece together what might have happened. A young person, I think, had lost his wallet on the plane and was trying to get it back. There was so much shouting. There was so much yelling at the gate agents. And then there was a lot of shouting later on the phone. It sounded like they were talking to a parent. Their face was red and they were stomping up and down the hallways without regard to anyone else on the path. They were fighting, struggling, complaining, blaming everybody and everything for their situation. Has anybody ever been in this situation? Like, have you ever? Yeah. You know, it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch someone else in that situation because you know that they're in pain. And I felt so much compassion for this young person. They were suffering a lot. The reason I was at the airport in the first place is because that I was coming home from Albuquerque, where I spent the entire week with a bunch of UU religious leaders. We were there strategizing and singing. We were there collaborating and crying a lot. We were building up our collective power and our resilience for the days, months, and years ahead. In that high desert town, there is a Franciscan brother named Richard Rohr, who leads the Center for Action and Contemplation. A mystic and a small U universalist, Rohr knows that the only way for us to sustain ourselves in this work of nonviolent resistance is to spend a lot of time together in contemplation, listening to the deep wisdom of the ancestors and the deep wisdom of the earth, listening to the divine mystery and the ever-present call of love. I wonder, how old were you when you realized the first noble truth of Buddhism, that life is suffering? It's a hard lesson to learn, isn't it? As Rohr writes, there are tears at the heart of things, deep sorrow at the heart of our human experience. There is an inherent sadness and tragedy in almost all situations, in our relationships, in our mistakes, in our failures, large and small. He continues saying, this way of tears and the deep vulnerability that it expresses is opposed to our normal ways of seeking control through willpower, commandment, force, retribution, and violence. Instead, we begin in a state of empathy with and for things and people and events. So much of our suffering occurs in the gap between what I expected and what I got. That's one of the gates of grief described by Francis Weller. So that young person in the airport that I saw expected an uneventful flight, and he got a big bump in a lost wallet. And the gap in between is where he was suffering. I expected that when I came back from sabbatical, Ryan would be here. And she's not. And in the middle, in the gap between those two things, is a big hole. We expected a democracy to continue, and we got this government, right? Do you have any other examples? What did you expect? What did you get? Yes? You expected snow in the mountains, and we have an incredibly dry winter, right?
I expected that the internet would be a forum for civic discourse, and what it is machines feeding us slop.
So you expected the internet to be this wonderful thing, right? And what we got is slop. What is the shape of the gap? What is the color and the smell? What does that gap feel like and look like for you? The world tells us that that gap, that hole, that darkness is dangerous, and you should run away from it, or you should try to fix it, or you should try to blame somebody else for the fact that there is a hole there, right? The Spirit, however, the Spirit asks with gentle curiosity, is it danger or is it discomfort? If it's not danger, could you stay a while in this chaos, in this darkness, in this discomfort, in this yucky, yuck? No zigzagging, no ducking, no hiding under eaves. Could you maybe experience this situation without being cruel, without harming yourself or others? What we expected and what actually happened. When you sit in this gap, in this darkness for long enough, and you stop fighting against what was supposed to happen in that crucible with enough time, with enough persistent practice, the fires of the Spirit will burn away the lies. It will burn away the unhelpful thoughts. It will burn away the judgments. And what is left in that gap endureth forever. And that, my friends, is love. It is love. It is love. The steady influence of the Spirit of life can transform our hearts and our minds, not by bouncing us back to what it was before, but by moving us forward into a life that is more true and more loving. By the time she died at the age of 86, Maya Angelou had received over 50 honorary degrees and numerous awards. She survived racism, sexual abuse, violence, and she rose. Not despite those experiences of pain, but because of how she transformed those experiences, burning off falsehoods, burning off the lies, until what was left was a bountiful heart that offered its gifts to the world. I know that many of us are sitting in this very uncomfortable, disordered, confusing, infuriating space. You are not alone. We're all with you. The ancestors are with you. The ancestors are here. Hallelujah. God is here. Amen. The mighty oak is here. The tender mushroom is here. This is why we celebrate every time we are together, because the Spirit of life lives in and among us still. This joy that I have, rising from the anguish of the world, will be here for us always. This love that I have, rising from the deep gratitude that I feel, will be here for us always. This peace that I have, rising from the fires that have burned, will always be here for us. So rise, my people, and let us sing. As Nancy extinguishes the flame, we will say together, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now, can I ask you to turn and face each other, or yes, however you want to do it, and repeat after me. Take courage, friends.
Take courage, friends.
The way is often hard.
The way is often hard.
The path is never clear.
The path is never clear.
And the stakes are very high.
And the stakes are very high.
Take courage.
Take courage.
For deep down, there is another truth. You are not alone.
You are not alone.
Go in love, my friends. Go in peace and joy.